Hello there, people. Now, I'm going to ask you for a small favour before we kick off, and that small favour is hang on. Just hang on. There's Adam, and then push this button. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Nice to see you all. Now, for those of you on YouTube, on Twitch, I don't think it's propagated properly, but those of you on YouTube may have noticed that tonight's stream has a roadmap question mark going on because the update to the roadmap that we've done has left a lot of people going, wait, what, what, hang on, what? And so we're going to cover off some of that to get started. Now here's the backstory, right? Is that the roadmap, it was invented. We came up with it as a means of letting you know the things that we were working on. And we wanted that list of items that were on the roadmap, you to be able to reliably say, or with confidence say, yes, this is stuff that is being worked on. And so I said when we first released it that it would take about 3 months for you to see how quickly things moved through, to get a feel for, okay, I've got a comfort level now. I've got a level of understanding with regard to how this works. Smashing. Good. Now, we became a little bit more ambitious and started including things like extra bug fixes and other improvements that were being made. And so we started piling those onto the roadmap as well. The problem is there are multiple different teams that work on the different components that we've been putting into one centralized area. And each of those teams had their own means of tracking things. And each of those tracking documents may have used, let's take, like one single bug fix might have had 50 things associated with it. And each of those would be listed out individually. So we were reliant on people giving us up-to-date information on everything that was going on that we would then put on the roadmap in the right place. And then we would have a meeting every 2 weeks on the Friday before the Tuesday of the roadmap to get a progress update on everything on that list. As time went on, it became apparent that actually we would refer to an item on the list and they'd go, well, no, I've no idea what that is. Because we would have rewritten that into plain English in order to put out in front of you people so that you understood what it was we were talking about, rather than using the varied collection of ones, zeros and hexadecimal that developers like to use. So as it got towards the end of the year, it was becoming increasingly obvious that when we started talking about bug fixes, there was a big disconnect between what we were tracking and telling you and what reality was. I think for those of you who have been roadmap students, let's say, or roadmap observers over the last few months, you'll know that when patch notes come out, they will have quite a bit of difference to the roadmap items you were expecting. And then there's a reason for that as well. The person who's writing the patch notes was not involved in the roadmap process. So the number of people expanded once again. And when we started looking at the update for this week, we were quite happy purging the list of the bug fixes and putting those in the main over on the forum thread. But when we came to it this week, we found that 75% of the items that we had listed there had no trackable one way or the other. The whole system effectively fell to pieces. Now, if you've consulted today's roadmap update article, that's pretty much what all of those big paragraphs say at the start. When you skipped past and went straight for the list, and you're now going, what's this Long Island Railroad business? That's the bit you missed. So here's what we're going to do moving forward. We want the roadmap to be a document that you believe in. And in order for it to be a document, I'll let you talk in a minute, Adam. In order for it to be a document that you believe in, we have to put on longer term projects that are going to hang around. The issue with bug fixes is they move really, really fast. They might go from being investigated into being worked on, into being fixed, into being in a patch within a 2-week window. So At worst, the worst case scenario there is that it never makes the roadmap in the first place, rather rendering us listing bugs on the roadmap somewhat irrelevant. The second worst case scenario is that we find out that a bug is being worked on, and so we put it on the roadmap, and then when the next one's released, actually, it's already been found by QA to cause a conflict somewhere else. So it is still, strictly speaking, fixed. So we don't want to take it off the roadmap. We want to leave it exactly where it is. But in doing so, that makes it look like it's just taking forever to fix, when in fact a fix is done. It just needs to be properly integrated with everything else. This is a rubbish system. It gives you information that is wholly unreliable. And that's no good. That doesn't help you, and it doesn't help us. It doesn't help anybody. So the right place for bug fixes in a granular detail, we fix this one item, is when it's been fixed and when it's in a patch. So bug fixes in the main, in a granular sense, will move into patch notes only. What's interesting about the patch notes this time around compared to the next release list last time around, Adam?
The patch notes are going to be all about Southeastern, so I believe you've got.
You've not picked up on the question there. No, I was.
What's in the patch notes? That's the patch notes, isn't it?
I was offering you the slam dunk there. So the patch notes last time round were quite thin. In the last roadmap, the next release section was quite fat.
Exactly, and I was quite pleased about it as well.
Yeah. What happened?
Beats me. It was like I couldn't believe what the patch notes were. So we've spent a lot of time trying to find out what on earth happened to them. Yeah,
right.
They bore no resemblance to what was going on.
And we were reliably told that this is stuff that was going out. This is no one person's fault. It's a lack of internal communication hooking up on this fundamental. So last week, what we tried to do was work off the core team who have the biggest list. We tried to work off their list. And it's unworkable. We can't make that work. Not because we can't read the list. No, because the list has got 20,000 items on, and it covers everything from the smallest of details for routes that are being worked on that haven't been released yet, to the feedback that you've given via the forums that has then been associated with an item on that list to be addressed. They've all got various different names associated with them, and there appears to be 527 different classifications for what stage it's at.
Yes.
So, in order for you to be able to trust the roadmap, we will take lists of fixes and we will combine them into project names. So if you were to look at that Long Island Railroad list, which is what Adam's working on at the moment, and you were to take the fixes, we would probably group those into 3 or 4 items. We wouldn't give you the granular detail. Instead, we would say resolving scenario issues across Long Island Railroad. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah, totally gives us a bit of wiggle room to say, well, we're only doing some of them, but we evaluated all of them. But it means that we can demonstrate that we are working on that item, even if we don't get to the specific one that bugs you the most. And then when the patch comes around, you'll know exactly what's going on. On a related note, right, Adam, you're going to get your go, trust me, but I want to do the stuff that people care about most first.
Well, that's what we're here for, really.
Because otherwise, the chat is going to be full of nothing but questions that I'm about to answer. So, here is the list of items that are being worked on for Southeastern High Speed, right? Big capital letters caveat. Not all of these will necessarily make it into release. They are currently in QA, and therefore, providing that everything goes off without a hitch and they don't conflict with something else, they should make it through. But all or none or some or many or a few of these may not make the list that comes out with the patch. Here we go. It's a good list. Now, just before I read it, and I'm not trying to keep you on the edge of your seat or anything, we won't be publishing this list externally, but if you want to transcribe it and post it out externally, you're welcome to do so. The reason that we won't be publishing this list externally is the one I just gave you. We don't know that 100% of these items are going to make it through into the patch that is coming up within. I'm going to go with, oh no, I can't do it. I can't give you a date. I really can't, just because anything could happen.
Yeah.
But it really isn't a very long wait. Right, here we go. So this is number one. We've worked on a fix for an issue that prevents the East Coastway 377 custom liveries working in scenarios or service mode. We have fixed the TVM double blocking issue that resolves the tricky tunnels scenario. We've got numerous fixes to AWS handling and behaviour. We've evicted the passenger from the luggage rack. Good. I saw that picture earlier on. I go, well, we've all sat in a luggage rack once in a while. I think that's realistic. No, that's not a bug. That's a feature. We've boosted the font size on the Javelin destination board at the front. We've adjusted some animation timings to better match the sound for the doors. We've improved the 395 AI audio, because as I understand it, they weren't making much audio at all, the 395s that were being driven by AI. We've adjusted passenger door opening and closing durations to be more to be closer to reality, so a little bit faster opening, a little bit slower closing. We've added the missing gauge lights to the 395. We've fixed the tail lights not showing up on the 375 indicator panel. We've fixed some holes in scenery that you could fall through, which is an unexpected treat. We've removed the blocking volumes from Gillingham Depot, so it is now accessible. Invisible walls. Blocking. What's it called? Blocking volumes. Blocking volumes. Invisible walls. We've removed a few invisible walls around that depot. These were written by Matt, you see, so it's still got a little bit of hexadecimal going on in there.
Well, he is here to clarify as well.
Right, moving on. No, these are his words. I haven't changed any of them. Added collision to a bridge east of Sittingbourne, so you can now walk over it without falling through it. Again, I'd say that was another feature. Fixed a signal on the entry to Hoo Junction from Strood direction to allow access to the yard. We fixed tunnel property not properly applied to CTRL tunnels 1 and 2, both bores. Yeah, I know. I thought you'd enjoy that one. On the high-speed runs...
that's the London end, I think, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know where the tunnels are. I just don't understand anything else in that sentence. High-speed run scenario. We fixed it so that it completes the apply power instruction when you set to any power notch, not just power 4. Not just notch 4, I should say. For the route introduction, we prevent the player from putting it into emergency brake. Good thinking. The tunnel lights are being rebaked throughout. Now, I spoke to Matt about that this afternoon, and there are a couple that are still proving to be a pain, but the majority are in that particular fix. We may get to the ones that are still being a pain, but it'll be what it is, if it's anything at all. We've extended the passenger level of detail distances on the 375 so that passengers can disembark the whole train, not just the carriage nearest the player. I bet no one noticed that. We've remixed the 395 internal cab controls to dial them back in volume. Controls make less noise in the cab, right? Okay. We remapped one of the Sittingbourne PIS boards as it was previously thought it was in Chatham. We've all thought we're in Chatham from time to time. It happens to all of us. Revised destination boards on the 395 and 375 and the route itself so that all destinations work on all trains. Previously, some showed up as blank on the 375 particularly. In service mode, we've added new Class 66 services that make use of Hoo Junction with shunting and other interesting gameplay, but that will require you to own East Coastway. Still in service mode, 1B91, 1A95, 1B93 all have details updated to reflect the actual task. Still on service mode. Missing tail lights have been added to rail tour services. The Class 40 can now be used on all 4 rail tour services. Previously, they only showed up on 2. We've relaxed the stopping precision on all stop at instructions so they're not as fussy. We've set. I'm gonna hang on. I need to move this up a little bit, otherwise I can't read it. Next, I'm almost done. We've set the initial power mode properly. Primarily, this improves the AI audio on the Javelin as it now configures itself correctly. I think I get that. Fixed stopping points on numerous 5K services so they pull fully into Gillingham Station. We've ticked Dispatch Beyond on rail tour services so that you get green lights throughout rather than stopping on reds constantly. There's a fix at Faversham where the unload percentage, as this was being treated as a terminal with lots of passengers disembarking and not continuing on. So basically it means the Faversham stop should be a little shorter. Fixed an issue causing PIS boards not to show any location names if a non-English language was being used. That's what we've got in the bag for Southeastern. It won't be the last time that Southeastern sees any love, but that's what's in the bag right now. Those are in testing at the moment. And the reason that is quite a volatile period is because, firstly, the QA team might go, yeah, you say it's fixed, but it isn't. It doesn't work. No, that's a thing that doesn't work. Equally, you could find that one supposed fix actually interferes with another one and breaks the fix that we just made. Equally, you could find it breaks something else entirely. So it's not a question of just testing that particular fix. You then have to test the entire route to exhaustion to make sure that we haven't triggered something extra that wasn't that wasn't expected, that wasn't desired. So we're expecting that to come out pretty soon. So that is the prospective fix list that we have right now. It may grow a little longer, but with different items on that list. But as mentioned, when patch notes roll around, those are the things you'll be able to rely on. Good. Adam, talk to me about Long Island Railroad. That's your focus at the moment. So what is the nature of fixes that you're going for, and the nature of improvements?
Well, there are fixes and improvements.
Adam, I've been talking non-stop for the best part of 20 minutes. All right, it's your turn. Give me a breather, man. Come on.
Right. So yes, obviously, the roadmap is the biggest thing that everyone's been upset about. But yeah, that's why a lot of our discussions have been about why has the roadmap changed. We wouldn't have changed it if it did work. So we need to improve that. So yeah, changes is a pain, but yeah, we're going through that, which does mean that we now get to give the particular route that we're working on at the time a lot more focus. So yeah, you'll notice obviously that all the fixes that are listed at all in the roadmap this week are all Long Island Railroad. And Sam is absolutely right. This is only about half of the fixes. I haven't counted the list that there is because it's not in rows. But
it's just under half. There's about 30 there, and you've got 67, I think, on your
60, list. Yeah, 60, 70 fixes. So yeah, these are what we do is we grab everything that has been fed back to us. We go back through our databases. We go through the customer support system. We grab as much as, and we review all of them, and we grab everything that we feel reasonably good that we can do something about, and then we will start the process. Every single bug has to be investigated. Is it still an issue? Obviously, we realise that Long Island Railroad is older than a lot of the routes of late, so we need to check first, is this issue still present? It may be that some core fixes have been put in that mean things have been fixed automatically, so yeah. There's no point in putting time into fixing something if we can't actually reproduce it anyway.
Just to interrupt for a moment, because there's two questions from regulars, see, going, can we get the full list? No. Rewind to the start of the stream and watch it again and digest it. Here's the thing. I put that chunk of list up to show some of the things that we were working on. The point is, some of that might not appear for ages. Some of it might not work at all, and therefore we have to dump it. The Long Island Railroad list in there was one part, here's stuff we're working on, and one part, here's an indication of stuff that is going to be misleading. It's equal part those. This is
Yeah.
why we didn't put the full list up, because I mean, and some of the items on the list you won't care about because they are fixes relating to other fixes. So if we fix flange A in order to make the wheels spin properly on an item where the wheels don't currently spin properly, you don't care about flange A. You only care that the wheels spin properly. Dino, I get that, and I'm not picking on you particularly, but that's the point. Is that that granular level fixes are an unreliable item for the roadmap because they
knowing
move.
this stuff in advance doesn't work. What we need to do is tell you that we're working on Long Island Railroad, tell you that we're fixing a lot of things and we're improving a lot of things and we're taking a lot of feedback and seeing what we can do with it. But actually, the list is the patch notes because that is the 100% guarantee. This is what has just been released. Now, it might not be that every Long Island Railroad improvement or update comes out in the same patch either. So there could be more. So we can't list these are all the things we're working on. And then we go off and start working on another route. And there's a case of, well, hang on a minute, there's things that were on the roadmap that now are not in the patch notes. Well, that's why it's not worth putting things in that much detail until it gets to the patch notes.
Yeah.
So this is to give an
true.
idea of the kind of detail we're going into with Long Island Railroad on its own. Whether we keep doing this, we're still deciding what is going to work best. But yeah, we had to change the roadmap because it simply wasn't working and it wasn't useful to everyone. So.
No, it wasn't trustworthy. That's the big thing. Seamus asked, the list of fixes is huge. Is the roadmap something you wish you did not release at the start? No, not at all.
We want to talk about it.
No. It has fundamentally been a success, and it's enabled us to kind of demonstrate we don't just churn out new DLC then disappear over the horizon. Actually, there is more going on behind the scenes than might immediately be obvious, and therefore it just makes it's worthwhile. Robert, I'm going to answer your question. It's vanilla, so it's the roadmap is fundamentally something we believe in. It is a brilliant way for you to be able to kind of set your own expectations with regard to what is coming and when. The only tricky item is the stuff that arguably you care about more than anything else, which is when we're going to fix stuff that is causing you pain. And the when is something we can never fully answer, but we were able to offer some solace in the sense of this is something we're working on, except of course we were listing stuff that apparently we were working on that we didn't actually have 100% confidence was being worked on. Or retrospectively, we found out that we don't have 100% confidence in it.
But also, I mean, we've added stuff that we're confident about improving, but actually we haven't got to that route yet. And my team can't jump around routes all over the place per bug. We have to spend focused time improving a particular DLC or a particular train. And that means that stuff has been added to the roadmap that then was getting frustrating that nothing had happened with it. So that became embarrassing. Yeah, we want to do stuff here. But...
that's good, Gilly. If it's not on the roadmap, it's probably accurate. Sad, but a little on the true side. So we want to get back to the point where we can reliably say, if it's on the roadmap, it's going to happen with a very high level of confidence. We weren't delivering on that. That's why we're changing it. Yeah. That is why those changes are occurring. I had seen one that I was going to answer there.
I mean, what we're obviously advertising here is that currently, for the month of February, we are working on Long Island Railroad. And our next focus after Long Island Railroad is going to be things like rapid transit and main specifier. And we're going to apply the same process there. It's come up in previous streams. How do you prioritize? Well, because of the issues of the roadmap, because of how we've been tracking the bugs and the fixes and the improvements, this stuff is really, really difficult. So the only thing we can really say is right now we're looking at Long Island. We've also moved to the process where instead of doing a massive bunch of fixes and then handing it over to QA and going, I hope it comes out, we're going to be putting it to the beta forum and making sure that, okay, have we ticked every box that people want? But also, is there anything else? That gives us time to then do that cycle back and say, right, before we do go out with this, we've done the big hitters. What else is there that we might need to pay attention to now? Because generally what you find in software development is that you'll hit all the things that are most obvious, and then you'll start to find the next layer down. So you hit those, and then you find the next layer down. So actually, we need a few of those cycles before it goes to QA as well.
Yeah,
so,
Paradise for Life says, so in your workflow, it started well, but got out of hand. Yeah, and that's quite a lot my fault. Because I wanted to include bug fixes, because I figured that you guys would really like to see bug fixes in development. What I hadn't realised is just how many different groups there were working off independent segments of updates and changes and stuff. And that only really started to become clear when patches started going out with mystery bug fixes appearing out of nowhere. And you kind of go, well, why didn't we know about that? And then ones that we do know about not turning up at all. We kind of go, well, why hasn't... Who do I need to... Am I talking to the wrong people here? And that's... Yeah, I mean, it's a very human thing. Someone earlier said, it's an okay, Peter, yours will do. Does this new roadmap format mean that internal communication is being improved and tracked so miscommunication doesn't happen like this in the future? Yes, 100%, absolutely. And the reason why we haven't been able to fix this is that basically this all came to a head last Friday. With last Friday's roadmap update meeting, we came away from it going, this whole system's unworkable. So we spent the weekend and yesterday figuring out, okay, how are we going to make this work going forwards? So we'll now go back through everything that is currently on the roadmap. And incidentally, if you look at the roadmap for the end of January, that's all still accurate for now. It will be guaranteed and rubber stamp accurated for the next update that we do. And it is going to take a couple of weeks to get through that, because there is a mountain of data to sort through and a mountain of projects and task lists that we want to distill in there. So it's a bit of an etch-a-sketch moment where we wipe the slate clean and then repopulate it, even if it is with an awful lot of the same stuff. But we want this to be accurate. There's no point in doing it if it's not going to be accurate. There's no point. Yeah. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help anybody. We might as well just be telling fairy tales and telling you stuff that you just want to hear, and then just leaving it on the roadmap for 6 months and kind of going when someone asks for an update. On which note, additional Bakerloo line services.
Matt's here.
No, I know Matt's here. Matt, don't answer the question, because I want to put a proper answer out next time around. I've already spoken to Matt about this, and he's in the process of getting a will it, won't it, and when we're talking a will it, won't it style answer, we want. Even if we don't tell you what the time frame is we're talking about, we want to know what it's being blocked by. The reason that Bakerloo services haven't been added is because there are certain things that need fixing within the core of the game in order for that to happen. Now, those fixes aren't necessarily scheduled, and we're trying to find out what those core changes need to be and the likelihood of them occurring within a realistic time frame in order to either keep those extra Bakerloo services on that list or not. Now, if we take them off, it doesn't mean they're never coming back. But as you know, if it's not on the roadmap, we're not working on it. And we don't want you to believe that we're working on something if we're not. And that doesn't matter if we're waiting for it, waiting for other things to happen first, or whether, whether it is being worked on, but it's just taking a long time. If it's on the list, it's being worked on. That's the rule. That's the golden rule. So they go. Yeah, Bakerloo came out in August. It's high time we had a notion of whether that's this. Thank you, telephone. I've got Google Assistant trying to help me. I don't need help, Google Assistant. I've got this. So it's high time we either we get off the fence one way or the other, that we go one side or the other.
I think I mentioned in the last roadmap stream, there has been a lot of updates to Bakerloo in other areas as well from feedback, and there was a plan that we were going to try and bring it out alongside Southeastern. However, improvements and changes to Great Western Express and Northern Transpennine ended up taking up more time, so we haven't finished the stuff we've been working on with Bakerloo line. So actually that stuff is still going on.
Yeah, and that's a fundamental. Right. So, are we still going to tell you about new add-ons when we're ready to do so? Yes. And Mike has 90% promised me we can have at least one next time. That we're that close to confirming one for 100% certainty. So it's a big fingers crossed, but I want to put at least one new route on the list next time. Now that obviously will be months and months away, but we do want to start giving you an idea of the routes in development, so that you know whether there is something that is particular to your taste that is going to happen in a reasonable amount of time. Because if there isn't, then you can head over to the forums or to Facebook or to Twitter or wherever and start hassling us to get it on a list somewhere. Yeah, if we're not doing a passenger route that you like the sound of, you can start going, oi, where is it? And that's why we want to put them on the list. Oh, sure, we get a little bit of benefit from a bit of pre-hype action going on there, but as you undoubtedly know already, that pre-hype action just leads to every roadmap update being any news on the insert item. And we're just going to go, no, it's still in development. So it's not coming yet. So that's the basic process there. We've got a couple of people ask about layers for Munich Augsburg. It'll happen when the core updates needed to improve memory optimization have been completed. This is a Bakerloo kind of situation, isn't it? Where we can't add the layers back on for console until we finish the memory optimization process, or the processes, I should say. That item on the previous roadmap about memory optimization is about 15, 20 different things. But it's grouped together so that you understand that's one big project. And as projects go, it's about as big as adding Steam. It's a big, big project. We hadn't anticipated, when originally bringing out Train Sim World for PlayStation 4 and for Xbox One, we hadn't anticipated that we'd be in a situation where we'd be trying to add this much stuff to one route when it came out. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a nice opportunity to be able to enhance a route in that way. But we hadn't set up with that in mind. So there is a lot of there's a lot of work to do on optimizing the core. It's progressing. There you go. Matt just said, the core update actually brought another wave of memory optimization improvement. It's ongoing, but it's going well. But we're not there yet. And when it's done, then we can bring the layers back in. Because if we bring the layers back in before then your console will fall over and die horribly in a fire and burn your house down. We don't want that, and neither should you.
Incidentally, I just saw somebody there on the southeastern list. There's a few comments here about the 2D map being a bit too restrictive in the tracks that it shows, and actually there are more tracks the player can access than is shown on the map. Is that on the fix-it list? Sorry.
No.
I think on the map.
No, it's not. Okay. No. If that's on the forums, it's already been registered. And that's the other thing, actually, is that in changing the way that bugs are handled vis-a-vis the roadmap, in that we will group them into kind of batches, but we won't give you the granular detail. We do need to give a little bit more visibility when we've actually read your report on the forum, or when it's been submitted to the database if you've gone via customer support.
CAG.
Yeah, we track all of it. We already do that, but of course, you're taking that on faith. You've got no evidence that it's being tracked, and also you're able to go. You're quite able to say, like, look, I reported this 3 months ago, and it's not turned up anywhere. Yeah, that will happen, and it's going to happen because the number of issues that get reported is significant, and while we would love to say, yeah, we're going to fix all of them, that's not true. All right, it just isn't. You're living in a fantasy world if you think that is true, and we would be living in a fantasy world if we were to try and tell you that it was. It's not true. It's not accurate. But what we will try and do is address the issues that affect the most people and are the most jarring. Now, where that sits for you, it's going to vary from person to person. For one person, issue 1 might be the most jarring thing in the universe. For someone else, might be a completely different item and they don't care about the other one at all. So we use best judgment and the volume of your feedback to dictate, actually, this is one that needs properly addressing. And as a matter of urgency, we'll obviously try and get through as many as possible, but there are just so many nuances to trying to replicate something for real. This is before you get past knucklehead stuff like, I don't know, doors not opening or red lights refusing to give way to you and all of that kind of business. Obviously, those should be dealt with because they're big immersion breakers for a massive number of people. But when it comes down to, a station sign being in the wrong place or a fence being the wrong colour, those are things that we kind of go, you know what, we can probably live with those. They're not disrupting your ability to actually play it. So how bugs are triaged, I don't know. We can probably go into, or how feedback is triaged, I should say. We could probably go into more detail on that. But there's no one rule that kind of solves them all.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a case-by-case basis. Yeah.
The Yorkshire Spotter said that he went to the forums a while ago, put down information about what could be next, and no one replied. And you kind of go, yeah. If you've put it in the tech support forum, it's been logged. It has been logged. We log everything that goes in there. Absolutely everything. The more information you can give us, we log all of that. We take your wording, we'll strip out anything that isn't necessary. So, I spent the whole afternoon playing this route and it was brilliant and I was having a lovely time right up until the point that this happened. We'll cut that first bit and just get to this happened and then the explanation of why it happened, and we'll add that to the bug database for further investigation.
Rob J has said, how about marking threads in some way on the forum that the dev team are looking at it? And yeah.
So I think what we'll probably do is, Nat, are you still listening? She said she would be. Every time that a thread has been added to the database, I'll get this confirmed. This is what I'm going to suggest, is that a community manager will mark it as helpful. That way, and that's it. You won't necessarily get a reply unless one is needed to find out further information. We need something that is fast, and we're already investing time in kind of hoovering this data up in the first place. But we'll mark a thread as helpful as soon as it's been read by a community manager. There we go. Nat has just confirmed that can be done. Just so you know that it's been read, because the toughest thing in the world is to let people know that we've read something without having to then do an action of some kind. So marking it as helpful will probably will be sufficient, because you'll get a notification to say, okay, they've read that. There you go.
But of course, it doesn't mean that there is something there to be resolved, or that we're able to use the information, or that it isn't by design. So you also have to take the caveat that just because we've acknowledged it does not mean anything's going to happen with it.
Absolutely. It just means it's been recorded.
Yeah.
And also there's plenty of stuff that is intentional. It might not be realistic, but it's just intentional. That's the way we've designed it to work, even if that is at odds compared to reality. That just might be the way that we've designed it. There it is. Now, someone else asked something that I was going to cover there. Oh, Matt said, when you're reporting an issue of some kind, be as specific as possible about how you made it happen. Ideally, do it again. If it happens once, it's a fluke. If it happens twice under the same circumstances, that's an issue. Otherwise, flukes happen. There can be any number of reasons why something might happen one time, but if you get it multiple times, we need to know the steps you went through, the platform that you're on, which DLC you've got, so that we can reproduce it ourselves inside the building and come up with a fix for it.
We keep seeing one from Ian Barkley. Sorry, is there any news on the keyboard shortcut for opening and closing doors?
That's the one I was going after.
Yeah. So Matt may have said that it's being sorted, but that's ambiguous.
It's part of a longer conversation.
Yeah.
So there are conversations about controls, full stop. Controls on every platform, about being able to give you more control over everything and how best we do that. It fits into that conversation, and there's nothing really to report on that front, other than it is a project that's kind of bubbling away. Not least of all because there will be several things we have to solve before Steam can be properly introduced. So we need to make sure that we're covering as much as possible. Yes,
Yep.
we would like to be able to remove the door press pop up, because it's not the prettiest thing in the world, and it does take you out of the world in order to see it. We want to remove as many things as possible that take you out of the world by having a menu pop up in front of your face.
Yeah.
It's important to us, it's important to you, but we've got no progress to report at the moment.
Sorry, another one. Sorry. Can we have more? I'll just say more of the branded containers that we have licenses for, available in more places. I'm aware of that. There's nothing on the roadmap yet, but I have passed the idea to my train artist. So we'll see. We'll state if we do anything with it. We've got those licenses, and we do need to make more use of them for sure.
Yeah, so how does that work?
In what way?
Well, how do you go about picking containers, for example, if you're putting a route together at the moment, and what difference does it make to add multiple different varieties when you're putting a consist together?
Not quite sure, but
All right, if it's difficult.
we actually went out. We gave the licensing team every single container brand that we could find a picture of, within reason, ones that you'd see multiple times in pictures. So we actually did ask for the licensing team to go out and chase every single container brand. They have come back over the years. I will say it has taken a very long time to get the ones we've got, and they're continuing the job. And we definitely need to make more use of them, as they any container that goes into the game, obviously it comes in many different colors, many different guises. So the system that gets set up is that anything that can take a container, it will be given a range of containers that can be placed there.
Yeah.
Some may have noticed that actually the system we have is a bit too dynamic. So for instance, if you were to change the camera from one end of the train to the other on a very long train, you'll actually see the containers change in a camera change. So that's actually something that we need to resolve at some point. But yeah, basically we want to use as many container brands as possible. I'm definitely not a fan of the red, green and blue containers on Great Western, for example.
Okay.
I want to get them sorted, so yeah.
WM Ginge, we're now into the hop around the chat, pick out questions that are good to answer section of the show. Please, can you remove the player center dot? We've discussed this before. This is on our we want to do that list.
Well, you switch it off with Control 8. There's 3 cycles: off, 50%,
and on
and
console?
on. Why is that not on console?
I don't know.
Matt,
I don't know. I don't know if it is on console or not. I'm asking you. So you can turn off the player center dot. No, but you want it to reappear when you're looking around to point at something. I guess you could. That's not elegant. I came up with an elegant solution, and Matt said it was lovely. The elegant solution is while you're facing statically in one direction, it goes invisible. When you move your cursor again, whether you're on console or on PC, it shows up again, so you can see where you're pointing. See that?
Yeah. There you go. Well, that's a core team. So yeah. So Matt's aware.
Okay. You're not drinking beer, are you? You're drinking some horrendous energy
juice.
drink.
No, it's apple juice this time.
Lies. It's a horrendous energy drink. Mind you, it's not neon. So there is that. Right,
people are waiting for news on the East Coastway passenger information systems. The work's been done. It has been completed. It's now with QA and testing and beta forum stuff. Yeah.
And again, it's worth repeating that one. Actually, is that when the work is done, it doesn't mean it's immediately going to come out.
Yeah.
When the work is done and the testing is done, it doesn't mean it's immediately going to come out. Anytime we make the smallest of tweaks to a route, it uses the minimum update size that route permits, which is multiple gigabytes. Brilliant. So even, and this is why it took ages to add the flags to and we're still missing one. Pretty sure.
Yeah, no, actually
pretty
two. I
sure
think it's
we're
still
still
two
missing one.
routes. Yeah, on Xbox.
Um,
Tees Valley line. Sorry.
yeah,
I don't know why that.
yeah.
Hasn't
I was
gone
in
yet.
there the other day, and we're missing it. Anyway, I'll get back on point. Even adding the flag would be attached to that route itself. So to update the flag, to give you the flag in the menu, takes multiple gigabytes of download. That is not a good use of anybody's bandwidth at all. So we wait until we've got a collection of fixes for one route ready to go, and we'll put them out. I say fixes, but it's improvements and stuff as well. So adding passenger information screens, for example, perfect example. And then we'll bundle them together and put it out all at once. And the file size would be the same as if you were just downloading the flag. So we try and make that as efficient a process as possible. And also on our to-do list is make those minimum file size downloads smaller, because that way we can update much more frequently. There you go. It's as simple as that. Fedor says, why is adding flags so much hassle? He found a mod that does it for 11 kilobytes. Yeah, but that's a mod. There's a difference. There's a difference between patching it properly and just modding something in.
And actually, we've never said it was hard.
No, it's a
I've
piece of
said
cake.
actually on
It's
previous
easy to do.
we have actually done it on every route. Not every route has been updated. So
Yeah.
what other routes are getting information screens? So information screens being added to Long Island Railroad. That's taking a bit more time than it has on East Coastway because we need to make some new tech. So we're waiting very patiently for some assistance from the main team.
What's the new tech you need?
So basically, instead of simple lines that the information screens are showing, it's actually got different sections to it as well. So sometimes they're larger sections, sometimes they're smaller. So they haven't quite got that tech yet. So because we haven't had a US route that's had passenger information screens released at all, we're having to make some adjustments. So it's a little longer. However, while we're waiting on that, we have gone through and added passenger informations to rapid transit. So that's another one. When that comes out, I'm not entirely sure, but we are making progress on other routes. So we're not simply going, oh, well, the one we're working on, we need to wait for, so we'll just sit and twiddle our hands. No, we just go on and move on to the next fix and wait for that one to come back around.
Yeah. Jordan says, appreciate the changes. No, wait, Jordan, where'd you go? You scrolled off screen there. Appreciate the reasons why you're making changes to the roadmap, but as a person who finds the forums a little cluttered, do you have any plans to keep everyone updated effectively? There are two main things. There are two main pieces of information that will keep you updated. The roadmap is one, and that is on the website itself. We won't be using the supplemental forum thread anymore. It will all be in that main document. The second piece of information that we put out regularly are patch notes. They should show up. They show up in game on console, don't they? I believe.
Yeah.
They show up in game on console, but we have posted them historically in the forums rather than anywhere else on PC. Well, for everyone basically. But yeah, we'll work on getting those on the main website as well. For those who would rather give the forums a wide berth, that's fine. You're perfectly entitled to do so. So yeah, no, perfectly fair comment. That's entirely reasonable. Now, obviously, we talk about other stuff in a conversational sense, and particularly on these streams, we don't go through these streams after we've had them and meticulously take notes about what we've said. There will be, rumours and speculation that come out because someone can't keep their mouth shut. It happens. Unreal Engine 4.26. It's all right. That's out of the bag now. That's something we're going to work on. We're gonna be updating to Unreal Engine 4.26, but it will not require the same level of graft it took to get us up to 4.23. 4.26 is necessary to give us functionality we need for Steam. So that will come as a matter of course. It won't come as it will probably be packaged into a big patch, but it won't come as part of a you must now get your wallet out. That's the plan right now. I have been reliably informed that for the next Unreal Engine update, you will not need to dip into your wallet to do so. If that changes, I'll be the one to tell you, and you can all yell at me. Okay?
Sure.
But that is the best information I have at the present time.
There's a few others. Will Great Western Express get passenger information systems? There's no plans at the moment, but we have the assets, so we'll see. When we're working on it, we'll let you know. At the moment, we're not doing anything on that front.
Monty says they don't get patch notes on consoles. Okay, I thought they did. Someone said that they did. I think that there's like an in-game news viewer or something like that should give you patch notes. Either way, we'll make sure they're visible on the website so that you don't have to go wading into the happy park of fun and games that are the forums unless you choose to do so.
Yeah.
Why is external development not in active development anymore? It is.
External hardware was the question.
External hardware, yeah, like Raildriver.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Who said it's not? Yeah. Who said?
Yeah, he said it's not. It is.
Yeah.
No, it still is. I suspect that you've turned up late and haven't read the roadmap properly or in full. That said, I suspect you're from France, and therefore the slightly wordy roadmap explanation may have left you pondering what's going on. The old roadmap, last fortnight's roadmap, is still accurate. It will be more accurate next time round. It's as accurate as it's ever been. Last time around, the last one we put out is as accurate as it has ever been. It will be more accurate with the next one. There we go. When can you expect to see?
So the preservation crew have got a rail driver. We've been given one, so we will start looking into that. I think I mentioned on the last stream, it has proven a little bit more difficult than we originally realised to get stuff up and running. So at the moment, there are no plans of what we're doing with it, but we are getting used to it to see what we can do.
Yeah. Will Hauptstrecker Ryan Raw have LZB when the 101 comes out? We'll talk about that when the 101 is closer to release. Something else to remember for these streams. We will reference the new stuff coming out, but we're not going to tell you anything good about them. We're not going to tell you anything interesting or sexy or cool about new stuff that is in development on the Roots and Loco side of things. Because we'd need I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again because it went down really well last time I did it. We'd have something that was like black screen. Have you ever imagined driving a train through the heart of that place that you like? Whoosh. Drums. Right? It comes with one of those, right? We don't do that on here. No, I'm the closest you get. And you get my mediocre impression of one of Mike's bombastic trailers. I love Mike's bombastic trailers, but I'm not allowed to do voiceovers on them anymore. That's... When we want to talk about new stuff that is cool and interesting, we will do it on a dedicated talking about new stuff that is cool and interesting stream. We won't do it on we get into the nitty gritty of everything that is going on everywhere. We'll get to it in that level of detail.
Someone's asked about how's the livery designer going for the Preserve collection. So there was a minor glitch with East Coast Way, as some may have noticed. You can enjoy repainting the trains, but you can't then use them.
Tyler,
so
talk about Tyler.
That's very unfortunate, but the fix for that is coming out. And that is a fix that we need to roll out to a few trains as well. So, for example, the Isle of Wight train needs the same fix, so that's going through. But actually, something I was playing with, was it just at the end of last week, is being able to reskin both the locomotive and the wagons that it's pulling. So I'm trying to see if there's something we can do on that front with the livery designer to open that up so you can reskin a whole train rather than just the locomotive or the wagon individually. So there's some movement there, but at the moment I'm just playing with stuff.
Get a move on. I've got 3 questions queued up and I'm going to forget one if I'm not quick. Tyler asked, when are we going to see the next proper roadmap update? 2 weeks today. We're going to stick to the normal schedule. Apologies. I'm really sorry that we don't have a better update for you today. But it's a disaster area. We're going to take a wrecking ball to it and start again.
It wasn't working. We have to make it better.
We've got to redo it all. It's as simple as that. James asked, how much of a problem is it to program the AI locos to sound their horn at railroad crossings? Probably significant, I would say. That's a good question because that is big for authenticity.
It's the performance usage. So we've tried systems where unfortunately, it's polling all the time. Am I going past a road crossing? Am I going past another train? All the time. And we're using that memory when actually we could be doing better rendering. We could be having improved weather.
So you're saying that we don't do it because it uses memory?
At the moment, yeah. We have tried this. Yeah, we have tried this.
Okay, well that's not going to cut it. No. I don't say
Matt's in here. Matt can back.
No. Look, I'm sure that is the reason. It's just a rubbish reason, right? It's like we're disappointed because we've bumped up the edges of what we can do. It's just kind of go, that's no good. I want there to be a path to resolution on things that drastically improve immersion for people that for whom. You don't know. See, you never have to drive a train on these things. If you're driving a heavy freight train on the stream, you've got a dozen people going short, long, short. No, it's not. It's long, short, long. When you're approaching a junction, I always get it the wrong way around. And then you're supposed to leave the bell running throughout. I know that one. You will be told this by a bunch of people, and they're absolutely right to do so because you're trying to do it properly.
Rule 51, is it a rule 50 something? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, you've got better knowledge than me. I only know what people.
Rule 14L, there you go.
Jana, however you pronounce your name, is the next track Clinchfield or Cane Creek? I'm not going to answer that properly, but what I will say is the one thing we'll do on the new roadmap is we will list the routes in the order they're expected. If that means they move around on the list, then it means that the order of release is moving around. This does happen sometimes. Is that for one reason or another, a route might start sprinting and start going like, oh, this is coming together really fast. That's often a sign of a pretty good route. When it's when you're having to fight it to get it over the line that you kind of go like, come on lads, dig deep, let's get it going. So yeah, we'll give you some indication of the order. We won't be able to give you dates. We won't even be able to give you estimated dates because dates move horrendously. Southeastern High Speed was supposed to come out in 2020.
Yeah.
Originally, when we originally put it on the list, it was supposed to come out in 2020.
Great Western Express, Northern Transpennine were supposed to have one update. Now they've got two. So yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of moving pieces in actually delivering them eventually, but yeah, it's a question of we'll try and give you the most accurate list we can at the time of doing. So I can't give you an answer now, but it's a good question to ask.
Yeah. Someone said with the Long Island Railroad passenger information update, will that include updating the M7 as well? No, it will not. The system that runs on the trains is a different system to that's installed into the stations. The preservation crew is not working with any train information systems yet. We're only doing the stations.
Yeah. How can we download the Community Challenge rewards on PlayStation? You shouldn't need to.
It should be automatic. They should unlock. Yeah.
It should just unlock. Nat's still watching. Nat, I'll put that on your action item list. Find out. Please. I'm nothing if not, semi-polite occasionally. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Someone was chasing, are we ever going to electrify Great Western Express? No, that is a particular time that we developed the route. That is the era that we set it in. It is the crossover era between it being electrified and it not. So that is going to stay. Great Western is not changing on that respect.
Can we get a boat train that can go underwater? Typically, unless it's a U-boat, it doesn't tend to go underwater anyway. Boats tend to float. That's kind of thing. And no, we're not making a floating train either. Yeah, right. Talking about horns, will Long Island Railroad finally get whistle posts for the railway crossing?
It wasn't on the map, but let's add it now.
Yeah,
let's see. We will investigate.
On it, you see. That's Adam's going to look at it. Doesn't mean Adam's going to deliver it. It means Adam's going to look at it. Yeah. Any idea when we will get the first SEHS Southeastern High Speed update? Soon. I'm sorry. It's the best I can give you. Look, I'm going to show you by number of fingers the maximum number of days that I've been told it's coming, but this will be patently untrue when it gets delayed by an additional week. Right? There you go. So that's the maximum number of days I've been told we should wait, but it will be longer. And it might not be, but I really hope it isn't. But that's the maximum I've been told so far. There you go.
So
If you just had the stream on in the background, you just missed out. No, you got to pay attention.
Someone has said, do specific dev teams work on specific countries? For example, the Cologne route also being the same team doing Cologne as doing Munich. And at the moment, no, we have a main dev team and they work on every route.
What? Wait, what? That's not true. We've got individual teams that work on individual routes. And then you've got the flying squad who are part of the core team that put that together.
Well, yeah.
Right. So do we have what the question was, do we have German specialists putting German routes together?
Well, yes.
Right.
But
okay, there you go. That's simple. No buts. No, that was enough of an answer. Let's move on to the next one. Will the MSB Dostos now get an update for other German routes?
Not quite sure what that means. I did see that question. What's the update that you want?
I saw earlier that apparently Dostos had an update of some description that added extra functionality to them on one route, but not others.
Okay, well, as we're looking at Rapid Transit, which has the 182 and that train with it as an extra add-on, and we're looking at Main Specibar next, then I can put that onto the make sure you look at this list. Can't guarantee anything, but I can certainly add it to the list.
Okay. Sodipta asks, can you do a randomized scenario start, fun to jump in and start driving something without having to click through stuff? It's on our things that we would like to add in the future list, but it's not something that we're actively working on. What we're more interested in doing is adding, and again, I will talk to you about things that have happened in conversation that have yet to hit active development. It's why the roadmap exists, so that you know what's in active development, because that then frees us up to have, to be able to talk about stuff that we're talking in a speculative sense. We want to be able to make the timetable routes that you run, the timetable services that you run, more variable. So changing ever so slightly. And that could be that the weather shifts while you're driving. Not dramatically, you won't go from a bright sunny day to a blizzard in the blink of an eye. No, we want it to happen in a realistic fashion. It could be that the weight of freight that you're hauling that particular day is slightly different, or that the AI trains take slightly longer to load passengers, thereby triggering signals along the route, so that if you were to run the same service 8 times in a row, you would find that actually you got 8 slightly different experiences from that. We want to be able to make it so that when you are playing your favourite route and you're playing your favourite time of day, that you still have to stay on your toes. You can't just ease back and go, I know this next signal is going to be red. It's always red. One day you might turn up and it's actually not red, because that aids replayability. This is it's a big thing that we want to work on. But again, it's at the conversational stage. What would this look like? What would it take to make it to get it done? And when is the best time to schedule the team to actually work on something like that? It's pretty high up our list, and in the survey it was actually pretty high up on your list as well. It manifested as random events. Here's an example of it. Give me Adam, I'll bring you in. Give me an example of a bad random event.
A tree falling on the line.
Why?
Because suddenly what you set out to do is no longer possible.
Right.
And how do we ever test that? Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not.
What
reward would it be if you set out to do an hour-long drive and 5 minutes in...
worse than that, not 5 minutes in, 55 minutes in.
Yes, actually the end.
Yeah, that's fun, that is. Yeah, paint that fun. That's, game over. That's the kind of random event we don't want. We don't want game over events. What we want is that for you to be able to do what you want to do. But we want you to be able to play in such a way that you have to concentrate while doing it. Because if you've driven the same route, the same scheduled timetable item 50 times, it's going to be identical more or less every time. And it's the only variable factor in there is you. So, you know, we'd like to expand on that. I've talked about this too much, actually, because it makes it sound like it's definitely happening. It's something that is really close to definitely happening, but it's not yet on the list.
We really like the idea. Yeah.
Oh, no, we love the idea. Because it means that every journey is an adventure. It's, you know, it adds a big deal. Random events would be good to add into a yearly core update. Completely agree. I think that's a natural place for it. It's a question of where we're going to get to with that.
Someone did send me one random event, like an engine or a locomotive putting a leg out of bed, and I had to look that one up. Actually, that was a really cool one. But that's not an event that we want to see. No.
Okay, it says, when will the scenario planner stream continue from yesterday? I think it's going to be bi-weekly. So, sorry, this is stream chat rather than game chat. But the idea is we do a creative stream once a week. Natalie's going to be doing livery designer. I'm doing scenario planner. And we're going to ping pong between the two of us. We will complete the project and then we'll move on to the next project. If people are enjoying it. If people aren't enjoying it, we won't bother. But we'll go through one cycle and see what happens. Will TSW3 ever come out? Yeah, it will. Yeah. We might even call it TSW3 this year. We might. I have no information to say what we're calling it this year. It could be a Train Sim World 2 2021. No, it won't. No, it'll be Train Sim World 2 2022. Monsters, Goliaths of history, of rail, of excitement, of thrust. There you go. That's what we'll call a core update this year. I'm going to propose it immediately. Yeah. No, I mean TSW3 is just a name. What that is then associated with, who knows? Is it a whole fresh game? Don't know. Is it an annual update? Don't know. Is it paid? Don't know. Is it free? Don't know. Those are questions that can be answered when we have answers to those questions and we're allowed to give them.
Matt's just given a prime example of why he doesn't come up with the names.
Oh no, what's he said?
Monsters of rail, of excitement, of thrust, Bakerloo.
Yeah, you can just put a cork in there. Yeah, there you go. Any idea why all the sidings are empty? Asks Chris. Presumably you mean southeastern high speed.
No, it's a common thing. It's putting static consists or trains into yards. Sometimes it's because that yard actually might get used at some point. Other times because putting trains that you drive in those locations is too expensive for the game. So we've been looking at no plans, nothing solid. We've been looking at, can we do static trains? And there's a few examples on Oakville Subdivision has trains for the background, as we refer to them.
Yeah.
That we might take forward. There's no plans at the moment, though.
Okay, we've got one. I knew we'd get one. We always get one. Ultra BVE development has gone ignored. ... Ask your question again. If you've not been watching the chat, it moves quite quickly, and therefore we miss stuff. Doesn't mean we're
like
deliberately missing stuff. I'm really hoping
posted.
It's a good question. Ask the question again, and if it's a good question, we'll answer it. In fact, I'll call it out anyway, and then we'll answer it if there's an answer to be given. You will be delighted.
Mouse actually makes a good point that we've been putting static trains on Long Island as well. So yeah, there's another example. We've been playing with it.
Do you ever think about changing? This is Top Smart. Changing train services in timetable mode, like 146 service to 425. That's going to be pretty difficult. I don't even need to ask a professional on that one. That's going to be quite tricky to do.
Like for like works, but not like for like. It doesn't really work at all.
What would be nice, and again, this is not something that is possible at the moment, but what would be good would be able to import those services into the scenario planner and then tweak them and see what happens. I mean, putting something completely inappropriate on a service and then watching the whole thing fall apart and everybody get jammed up at red signals, that can be quite entertaining. So no, it's not something that we've got the ability to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone said, can the LED signals from Southeastern High Speed be added to East Coastway and Great Western Express? No, we're not going to do something like that. The routes are modelled on a particular point in time, so that is the way we've modelled them.
There you go. Ultra BVE development was saying, I was asking whether there will ever Now, you see, never use the word ever. Whether there will ever be a Long Island Railroad route update for the Huntingdon line, 3 stops to Huntingdon, it's unlikely. Route extensions is not something that is high on our priority list. We referred to it as DLC for DLC, which means this. I mean, this is purely mercenary, purely on a commercial sense. Is if you make something that can only really be used and appreciated by the people that have already bought an add-on, then you've taken your potential audience size from everybody who owns the game down to just the people that own that add-on, and then it'll only be a small portion of those people that own that one. We've tried it before with Train Simulator. It's not a good idea. If you like staying in business. So it's never say never, but it's very, very unlikely. There you are. Any plans? Any fix planned for repeating textures? Now, Adam, I'll let you have a go at this one after me. I'm going to take a swing at. It's unlikely that we'll do so for older routes because the amount of work involved there is significant, and every new texture we use contributes to the amount of memory that's in use. However, we try to avoid doing it wherever possible, and in newer routes, as time moves on, we become more sophisticated at being able to obfuscate where we're using the same texture in multiple occasions. That doesn't mean you won't ever see another repeating texture. It just means that it's something we want to try and avoid. Adam, do better.
It would involve completely repainting the terrain, so that's just not worth the time unless it's super horrendously bad and everybody's complaining about it. So at the moment, no plans.
Yeah. Morgan says, do we read the Steam reviews? Yes, we do. We read all the reviews. We read everything. And we might not always reply, but we consume as much feedback as you give us. We have interlopers on many Facebook fan pages. We are on Reddit. We're in Discords. We're in the Steam forums. We're everywhere. Even if we're not replying, we are reading, because depending on the platform that you're on, and I don't mean the plain platform. I mean where it's Facebook or where it's our forums or Discord or what have you. They attract different groups of people. They attract people who play in a slightly different way, and the prevailing attitude within that audience tends to be very similar, because you hang around the people who feel fairly similar to you, and if they feel very, very differently to you, you ricochet out of there and bounce around till you find a group that actually you're more in sync with. So it's a good way of finding different opinions, different chunks of feedback. So we read absolutely everything, because how else are we going to know what you think?
Yeah, someone was asking if we could give more detail on the sound improvements to the Long Island Railroad. If it isn't on the roadmap that's been published this week, then we've chosen not to talk about it at the moment. The improvements being made. What we will do, though, is update the aspects that people have been less than pleased about, and then we'll put it to the beta testers, our internal beta group, and get their review, their feedback. Do we need to make any other changes? Because obviously editing some sounds, yes, we can make them louder. Have we made them too loud? There's a lot of subjectivity involved. We'll get an idea from our internal beta group, and then we'll go maybe for another round of improvements, and then into QA, and we'll get it out. So
I've had a couple of people who are posting the same question. They're all coming in. They're even all spelling scenario wrong. Come on, look, if you're going to copy paste something, at least get someone to stick it through Grammarly or something before you kick off. The question is, have you guys thought about giving us a fix for Cement Circle in Train Sim World 2020, because you can't complete the scenario and earn the trophy? I've had this discussion with Matt already. We've looked at several different ways that we might be able to solve it. There is no guarantee of a fix at the moment. It's something that we would like to fix, but it's a resource question. Obviously, if we put people on that fix, we've got to take them off something else. We want to get it fixed. There is an active thread called, I believe it's called DTG Fix It, over on the Train Sim World Forum. Be more descriptive in your thread titles, people. It helps us out enormously. It is under active pursuit because I want to get you a solid answer on that one. I'm on that one personally. I'm trying to deal with it for you. If nothing else, I'll get you a concrete answer of whether there will or will not be a fix for it. And this is under Train Sim World 2020.
The other aspect to that is people have suggested, could we change the reward so that they don't need that scenario to still get the award? I believe there are technical issues with doing that on console. So we wouldn't be able to get into a position where the rewards were different on different platforms. So I believe there are quite significant challenges to overcome trying to change the reward as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I've got one last question. Have you got one more question that you want to answer? Because I've got a good question to finish off with.
Actually, no, I think we've covered them all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've got a question from LaserJet899. All right. When will the stream end? Adam?
As soon as you press the button.
Yeah, pretty much now. Yeah, there we go. That'll do. There's always a ton of questions in these streams, and things like, will there be more masteries? Yeah. Read it, find out. No, go on. I want one more that I could just
Well, one final reminder then about what the preservation crew is up to. Just to confirm, right now we are working on Long Island Railroad. We will then be working on Rapid Transit and Main Specibum. That will be our focus after Long Island.
I'm going to do why is Northeastern Corridor not coming to Train Sim World 2? Northeastern Corridor was built in an experimental phase for Train Sim World. It went in a direction that ended up being an evolutionary dead end, to which extent, instead of preserving it, it would actually involve effectively rebuilding it from the ground up all over again to release it for TSW2, which is why we haven't done it. It is the only route that we have not ported forward to TSW2. We know there are people who like it. Well, actually, we know there are people who kind of like it, but mostly they like the setting. And therefore, we know that we need a good Amtrak route around the Northeast Corridor, kind of an idea. It's not a dead item, but it's not being brought forward as part of Preserve Collection. There you go. Will there be new engines on Sandpatch grade like the ES44AC and the SD70M? If it's not on the roadmap, we're not working on it. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Hopefully, you've now got a better idea of why today's roadmap was like pouring water on a child's birthday party in terms of enthusiasm dampening. I'm not comparing you people to children. This is probably a bad example. Pouring cold water on a nice evening out at a restaurant. There you go. That's better.
Nice.
It's terrible. The reason, a question that I've seen asked a few times is, why did you put it out why did you put the announcement out as the roadmap instead of just putting it out a few days before? Because otherwise, the only comment you would have seen on the stream this evening is, where's the roadmap? Where's the roadmap? Where's the roadmap? I could have answered it 100 times and we still would have got, where's the roadmap? And on the forums, all you'd see is, where's the roadmap? On every social media platform ever, we'd be trending, where's the roadmap? We wanted to make sure that the people who were most interested in reading the roadmap were the ones that read the announcement. So we put the announcement in place of the roadmap so that the maximum number of people would see it. Yes, it created a little bit of, and wailing and gnashing of teeth, but hopefully the evolution of what we present on the roadmap will deliver. We want you to be able to trust in it, and we want it to be accurate. There you go. See, look, we're getting some Where is the Roadmap going on now.
Love it.
Love you guys. You always deliver. No. If you set them up, the opportunity for a running gag, they'll give it a go. You know what? They're going to stick that in every stream from here on in. It's going to be beautiful.
Where's the roadmap?
Every stream from here on in is going to have 5. I demand it. Where is the roadmap posts? Thanks very much. We'll have further details for you in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have more news on. Oh, here's a good one. The BR Blue pack. What's it called? Well, I keep calling it the BR Blue pack. What's it actually called? I can't off the top of my head remember. Hold on. The Great Western
Heroes of
1970s BR Blue theme gameplay pack for Great Western. There's going to be an article going up on that in the next few days. I don't have an exact time frame that provides a lot more information about what's in there. The BR Blue plaque. Sorry, I mean, it could be. Maybe it deserves a blue plaque. Who knows? Thanks very much for watching. Say goodbye, Adam.
Bye-bye, Adam.
Cheerio.